Hello, everybody. Nicole here from The Living Well. I always sing when I do my introductions. I don't know why. It's just become the thing I do. So I just go with it instead of trying to.
You say the last word.
It's all good.
So today we want to talk about fight or flight, because a lot of us who are dealing with trauma end up living in fight or flight. We don't even realize it. We think we're living normal because we've never experienced anything else sometimes. If you've grown up in a toxic family arrangement, then you more than likely have been traumatized maybe your whole life. And so I know I did. I had terrible anxiety and didn't know what life felt like until I ended up having to take some medication because I was starting to have panic attacks. And the relief I got was for the first time I got to see that other people were not living the way I was living as far as my anxiety was concerned, that there was like some homeostasis, but when you're used to it, it feels normal. So when you're in fight or flight, you might not know that you are. So, but what I just want to talk a little bit about that. So when you are stressed out, the brain is designed to pick up on it. Your subconscious just automatically jumps into high gear and deals with it. It can tell when you're in danger or when you're safe. So when you're in a dangerous situation, your body goes into fight or flight to help you fight, flee, run, or fawn. There's a bunch of different reactions that your brain has to fear. And so depending on whatever the circumstances are, you may fall into one of those categories. So when you're in fight or flight, the part of your brain that's responsible for deep cognitive thinking is hindered, kind of like when you're drunk. So you're not able to really think clearly, but it also affects your digestion as well. Your digestion is hindered and is not operating at its fullest capacity. So we're going to talk a little bit about the brain gut health connection and how that could really cause what we know is called brain fog, and add to the confusion that a survivor is already dealing with to perpetuate the problem even further. So Amy, you're a health and wellness coach. Yes. And you actually work for a company called Amari that specializes in this, correct? And it's helped you a lot.
I'm a wellness partner with Amari. Amari is the mental wellness company. And the biggest thing is just getting your body primed and prepped. So you never really want to get to that point, but it's good to just get on these products to help your body to manage the stress and anxiety and this vicious cycle of the difficulty of coping with everyday life. And that goes with the low self-esteem, feelings of stress and worry, lack of sleep, tiredness, and it gets into like not coping with everyday life. So I'm referencing the slides that I learned with Dr. Sean Talbot, the chief scientist of Amari. I took a course with him. It was a 3-day course to get my wellness certification, and realized how much more I needed to know and learn. Just being out of balance in your gut affects the areas of anxiety, depression, obesity, the pain and memory, and just it affects every system of our body. So when I started taking these products, realizing that I never wanted to get to the state of mind where my mother was at, because she was overweight and on antidepressants and didn't know how to cope with her life, but she hid it so well that no one knew that she was having a problem until it was too late. So when she misused her antidepressants and took her own life, that was really the catalyst of me wanting no toxins and chemicals in my body or on my brain to cause that brain fog. So learning so much about the gut health and the microbiome now and getting on these products, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I want to be and want to help others learn and know that they can make a difference in just helping their gut. So learning that we need the probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, like all these different ones, and it's all in one product that we can get it, and it's all plant-based, wholeness, nutrition grown from the earth. That's where I was like, yes, finally, this is what the solutions that so many people need to help their mental wellness and to be I believe being mentally healthy is just as important as being physically healthy. That's where we're at.
So it's like you were saying, it's one product. It's one product and it's all in. So we'll put that product in the link below.
Yes,
So
I
this
have a
product-
webinar too that I
Okay,
can send. You can put it in the link. And
awesome.
it's about the fundamentals. So the fundamentals pack is the product for it's called Menta Focus for your brain, the mind. Mentabiotics is the powder that you put into water, drink, or yogurt, whatever way you want to get it down for your gut health. And then Menta Sync is to connect it and bring it all together. And it has helped so many people. And I'm so grateful and thankful for finding Amari.
Because what happens is over time is that your your gut basically dysregulates because of not functioning properly for too long of a period of time. So it can cause things like SIBO, leaky gut syndrome, all kinds of diverticulosis, all kinds of different type, and it causes issues that it dysregulates us. So in order to help ourselves combat depression and anxiety, you can take this probiotic, but it comes with a probiotic, a prebiotic, and a post.
All in one.
Yeah, awesome. And you found how did it make you feel for your own mental health when you started taking that product? How did it affect you?
Yes, I didn't realize how much COVID and winter affected me until I started getting on these healthy solutions and supplements and realized where I wanted to be and started smiling more and feeling more healthy in my entire body because it affected the gut, heart, brain axis affects your nervous system and cardiovascular system and immune system and so many different little things that are going on in your body are affected, and it all starts in the gut and microbiome. To get that cleared up makes a huge difference in everyday life and happiness.
Awesome. What do you think, John?
Sorry. I was on mute. I didn't realize, but basically, I can't speak to all of this, but one of the things that that I know is that hormone health, when it comes to this type of stuff, is really important because, especially when it comes to men. I can't speak as much to women, although there is evidence to when we're talking about the fight or flight aspects of this in men, and because I mean anyone who's part of the men's group who's listening to this, basically cortisol, the way it affects us, and that's basically the flight or freeze hormone, whereas testosterone in men is our fight hormone, or at least it can be for aggression or assertiveness, positive or negative. It's what gives us our drive. But when we have a bunch of cortisol in our system from a bunch of stress, what it can do is it can create the effect of low T even if we don't have low T. So it can block the effects of our testosterone without us realizing it. Now, if there is, and anyone can feel free to correct me if I'm incorrect on this, because this is a bit outside my wheelhouse, but I have talked with people about this issue. And one of the things that I understand is that, if we sometimes have the effects of low T based on the fact that it's just we're stressed out and stuff. And so this idea of looking at the whole of what we're doing, whether it's what we're putting in our bodies or what we're doing to our bodies or how we're taking care of ourselves, is so important. And that part goes for men and women, because it really is about, and I'm speaking as someone who, has had kind of my foot in both camps of, whether it's, more modern medicine or other practices that are more based in holistic medicine. It really is important to look at your whole person, see what's good for you, and really just, analyze, there's not a one size fits all solution for everyone. And so exploring these options is a really important thing for us to do, because, we have to find something that works, and we have to look at everything. There's not one thing that we're going to take that's going to solve our problem. There's also not one thing that we're going to do that's going to solve our problem. We have to look at ourselves as a whole person, and also just as a whole society, micro and macro, to come up with the solutions that are the proper solutions for us.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
This helps so many different people, and in different aspects with the cortisol and everything. Everything starts in the gut. That's what we're talking about.
So when you are a codependent or you're in a relationship with a toxic person, usually, not all people with, in relationships with toxic people or narcissists or codependents, but most of the time they are, or, whether or not you're a codependent doesn't matter in this case, because you're taught and groomed not to pay attention to yourself. Like you have to literally abandon yourself to be at the beck of call of everybody else, especially the narcissist. So when we're saying you need to pay attention to your gut health to somebody who's been geared and trained to neglect themselves, it's going to come across as like, it's not that important, or you'll put it off, you're going to say, I'm fine. But the consequences of ignoring this are what we want to highlight, because ultimately what happens when you have too much cortisol in the body for too long, cortisol causes inflammation, and inflammation runs havoc on the body and causes diseases. That's the simplest way to make it clear to everybody, right? So if your body's dysregulated and your hormones are out of whack and it's causing issues with your gut, then it's going to make you anxious, depressed, and have a disease, get a disease. And that's the whole full-blown cycle of it. So you don't want to be 30, 40 years into your relationship and then end up with fibromyalgia or all kinds of other serious health complications that could have been prevented if you were aware of how this high level of stress was impacting your everyday life and taking small actions. Taking an herb every day is not a huge sacrifice that could cause us later. It could it could help us prevent serious complications. But what notoriously happens to us as codependents is we're not paying enough attention to ourselves, or it's not as important as it should be. So it's very important that we look at the health concerns and care about our own bodies and our own nutrition and our own health, so that we're capable of preventing these long-term effects that were preventable if we were just aware. That's what we're trying to do, is bring awareness to society.
Invest in your health and wellness and your body.
And I'd like to get both your thoughts on this, but this is sort of the basis for where reactive abuse comes from, because that trauma is what creates that sense of adrenaline in us. Being in traumatic situations over and over and over again creates a situation where we have a response that we're constantly in danger. We have a perception that we're constantly in danger, that we constantly need to react as if we're in danger. And that's where this volatility comes from in these situations sometimes, whether we're men or women, where sometimes, even if we are, supposedly the codependent or the victim or the survivor, we get in situations where our responses to situations can be viewed by people who don't understand the situation that we're in as extreme, because we have that reaction. Reactive abuse comes from a place of constantly being in that defense mode, constantly being in that on guard mode, constantly being in that mode of being alert and being anxious. Really this sense of hyper awareness and hyper vigilance.
Yeah, I think this starts in childhood. I'm reading this really cool book called What Happened to You by Oprah Winfrey and Bruce. Hold on, I have the other one here. Bruce Perry. It looks like this if you go to even like Target or on Amazon. But it's a conversation that Oprah is having with this doctor named Bruce Perry on trauma and resilience and healing. In the very first couple of chapters I've read, it's been fascinating. But it talks about how what happens to you as a little kid really sets the tone for your whole way of looking at life and seeing life, your view. So if as a child you were taught that life was not safe because people, for example, in a normal child's life, the parents would respond to a child's needs by being, answering them and being there. So the baby learns right away that if I cry, someone comes to me and I'm safe and somebody's going to take care of me. But if that didn't happen, then you end up sorry, Evelyn, good morning. If that didn't happen, then a child is taught early on in their life that they're not safe and that the world's not a safe place and it is dangerous and bad things do happen. And so you can actually start, and that's what happens to a narcissist. They are navigating the world from that terrain in the first place. And that's that's their perspective. So like you're saying, when you're exposed to also as adults, abuse all day long or over a period of time, you do get to learn that you're waiting for this other shoe to fall and things will go wrong.
Right.
And it is dangerous and scary place to live. And that's what just perpetuates the existing problem right from childhood onward. So, but we could have a perception shift and we could take action as adults to help protect ourselves from danger and help guard ourselves. And this starts with caring about what's happened to us, caring about our own bodies, and paying attention, shifting our attention off the narcissist and the trauma and onto ourselves and protecting ourselves from future harm and trying to heal our bodies and help ourselves get back to some kind of regulation the best we can.
Right.
Yeah.
Caring what you put in your body. That awareness of what you need, and give yourself that love and attention in that moment.
Right.
Totally. So this is why this is so important that we do pay attention to our gut health. So if you want to know more about Amy or her products, feel free to, we'll put the link at the bottom. And this is COVID. This is what happens. The toddlers walk right in the room when you're recording a video. That's all
real life.
So thank you guys for being here. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye now.
Thank you.
All right.